Hi everyone, it's time for another Starbase summary in which we zoom, enhance into every detail in Starbase to see exactly what SpaceX is doing there. My name is Marty, you're stuck with me for this one as Das or John Galloway is a bit busy today. So I'll be your tour guide for the day and I'll be showing you around Starbase. We're starting with the Gigabay, which is literally going up, and Gigabay isn't the only thing going up, no, it's also the SpaceX employees going up in baskets and aerial work platforms, as you can see here, which apparently bring them up to what from the ground look like quite daunting heights. You can see that they're still attached with their safety harnesses, so they should be safe, but it looks like quite a daunting task to do. And speaking about going up, apparently these were cars for construction elevators. So that should make the process a bit easier than hopping into a basket under a crane. Also some groundworks going on. Whether they're digging trenches or foundations, I'm not quite sure where that is and what they're doing there. And these are some COPVs, composite overwrap pressure vessels, going to the production site. And now we're having a look into the factory, showing two Nosecones for ship 43 and ship 46. And now we're moving on to ship 45, which, as you may remember from a previous episode, has a couple of holes cut into it. Well, I don't know. You can still see 45 on the left, I think, but there on the right, covered in the heat shield tiles, is the one for 42. And this is the Nosecone for ship 40. Which is also covered in tiles. But as you may remember from previous episodes, something interesting has been going on here, as they've been like drilling into these tiles and inspecting them and doing all kinds of things with them. And we first thought that they might also need to do something similar with ship 39, which, as you may know, is, partially or assembled currently, or at least it has reached its full height and completed its heat shield. But yeah, we saw them bringing up this scaffolding and now they've cleared it. So now it's gone. And I can't remember seeing anything happening to the tiles in the meantime. So yeah, it's not clear to me what they've been doing. Okay, there we can see the ship being attached to a crane. And these, I believe, are the lifting points for the Starship. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a new design on the version 3 that we haven't really seen before in previous iterations of Starship. And here in the foreground, or actually behind the Gigabay, but in front of the Megabay with ship 39, is an aft section for a future Starship. In the meantime, there are some parts arriving for a crane, specifically for SpaceX's crane. I believe that one is currently stationed at the launch site, so these parts are probably being brought there to be added to the derrick of that crane. And this is the test tank ship 39.1. Well, we saw that one at Masseys, being tested at Masseys last year, near the end of last year. And then they moved it back to the production side, and we thought that was the end of it. But it has since reappeared and being mounted to a test stand, and now it's being rolled out to Masseys again. So apparently they've changed something or decided that they need to do some more testing. Who knows? Well, SpaceX does, but I don't. All I can say is that I'm seeing this this piece of hardware being moved back and forth between Masseys and the production side. So yeah, whatever they're doing, it's probably important. And they've probably got more tests planned for this test article as it's now being rolled out to Masseys with its usual police escort, or at least security escort. Now it has arrived on the road to Masseys, which is a bit more sandy than the highway between Brownsville and Starbase. So that's how you can spot that difference. You can see it moving downhill and arriving from another point of view. You can see it arriving at Masseys, where I think it's pretty much back at its old spot, but I'm not too sure about that. Apparently it's back again to see its friends of B18.1 and B18.3. These are booster test tanks, as the B implies. 18.1, which we're looking at right now, is for the boosters aft, and this is 18.3 for the boosters forward section. And that forward section also contains a test ring for the ship's aft, and I believe that is to test the loads of a fully loaded Starship on the booster. So yeah, you can see that, well, these workers are currently working at the hot stage ring, so they will probably be testing that design. Anyway, this is a new structure that has gone up at the static fire stand, and we still don't really know what the structure is for. They're installing a stair, it looks like it, staircase, and right at the top some a walkway and some other structures have appeared, but what it's going to be used for, I've got no clue, and if you know, well, you can always leave a comment below. In the meantime, there is a static fire stand being moved from Masseys over to the production site. What that means, well, we just saw them connecting ship 39 to a crane or some lifting mechanism. So could they be lifting ship 39 onto the stand? I don't know. Probably not, because it seems like the stand will first be parked at Sanchez. So it might still take a while. But sometimes things at Starbase move much quicker than you expect. So it's really hard to tell. This is an apartment complex. And I believe there's also a parking garage in there for the SpaceX employees, so they can, well, live in a nice apartment while working in Starbase. It looks like it's not quite ready yet for people to move in, but certainly working on it. And with this sunrise at the launch site, well, we're looking at the launch site. On the left, you see pad 2, and just right of that, there was pad 1. But now we're looking at part 2 specifically. And that is that new launch pad that they have been building over the last, well, the better part of a year, if not longer. It's looking increasingly more finished, but it's still not done. As you can see, workers still like welding something onto the orbital launch mount. I guess the old adage of work continues on the OLM is still true to this day. And this is on top of the OLM. We can see a person working there. The light is coming from one of the quick disconnect structures. Now we're zooming into the tower next to the next to this orbital pad, specifically onto the chopsticks, the arms that will be used to lift the Starship and boosters onto the launch pad, but also to catch the super heavy boosters after their return. And this is another arm. This is the quick disconnect arm, which contains the pipes that will feed Starship with its propellants, liquid oxygen and liquid methane. And they've recently installed an extension onto this arm to complete its full length. You can see that they're still working to hook everything up and maybe to run some more lines and connections and all that stuff. It's really a complex structure of walkways and stairs and, well, the physical construction itself, and all intertwined with these pipes and lines and everything that needs to be running through there. And one of the things this structure is designed to do is to move out of the way of a flying Starship quickly. So it disconnects the lines that feed the propellant into Starship and then moves out of the way. And I guess this is a test for that. I believe that during liftoff it will look a bit more smooth, and it might be moving a bit faster. But don't forget, this is a brand new quick disconnect arm, and they are testing it for one of the very first times. Meanwhile, they're also working on a wall at Part 2. That wall that will probably be there to protect some of the infrastructure, some of the tank farm, whatnot, from the exhaust, from the rocket exhaust and everything that's being thrown all over the place upon liftoff. As always, Starhopper has been there since the beginning, guarding the launch site and looking over everything that's happening there, including crews working on the tower of the original launch pad, Launch Pad 1. That tower, hasn't seen a launch since the last, Starship launch, since anything has seen a launch in Starbase, but it has seen a lot of work since that moment. Because, ever since that final Flight 11, the final flight of Starship V1 lifted off, SpaceX workers have been working tirelessly on this launch complex, demolishing loads of old infrastructure and now slowly starting to build it up again. I believe these workers are working on the rails, on the guideways that the Chopsticks are sliding on. Now you can see both towers, the new one on the left, and you can really see how rusty the old one looks. So yeah, some refurbishment is definitely required. You can also see that they've chopped off a part of the chopsticks. I know that is not where the etymology of chopsticks comes from, but I like to think it is. Anyway, they used to be much longer, and the new design for the new pads that they're going to convert this into requires shorter chopsticks. So they've shortened them. And this is the old quick disconnect arm on the first orbital launch tower. You can really see the difference between this one and the one we looked at earlier. Meanwhile, they're also drilling foundations, or foundation piles, I assume, at the original launch pad 1. So this might be for some new infrastructure, most likely, I think. But I'm not quite sure where this is in relation to the tower and the launch pad. Anyway, this pad is going to see much new work in the coming months. And this, I suppose, marks the end of an era, because this was the Pope vent coming down, which is a vent that we like to watch a lot during the launch countdown, and now it's gone. But obviously, its function will be replaced by other parts of Starship infrastructure that we'll just watch and have to record the timings of to get insight in the new version of the launch countdown. And with this view of the production site, or I believe it's an office building, we've come to the end of this Starbase summary. So thank you for watching. Be awesome, everyone.